let's start from the top. Hey, we've got
Yeah.
so-called leadership that's guiding certain rules and policies and policymakers that are not grounded, that in my view are reacting like headless chooks, that are knee-jerk reaction kind of people. And
Mm.
I think that's spearheading the conversations that are being had on news, media, TV, all press outlets. And that's having a flow-on effect on people that are watching those outlets. And it's
Yeah.
making them feel distracted, almost nauseous with the amount of news and noise and fear. um, how could the average person manage that and calm that down?
Mm. Look, there's a really beautiful analogy that I use all the time with my clients, and that is if we imagine a very old, ancient grandmother or grandfather tree that's in the forest, that they must be deeply rooted down into the earth to be able to weather the storm. And so, if we think about using that in the human body and the human energy, and that frequency of being grounded, then we must be deeply rooted down in our body, in our intuition, in our emotional well-being, so that, let's say, when we're hearing chaotic news or unsettling news, or we're living in times of change and chaos, when the leaves are being shaken at the top, we can come from a deeply connected place to be able to kind of feel into that and find our own way and allow the right answer to arise, uh, rather than just going, firing off, what are we going to do about that? Which we know just is bad decision making.
Yeah, yeah,
And also, I guess, when we're in that stream of, well, there's a very high disembodied, disassociated energy, it's really easy to get sucked into that. So I guess, the thing that I see time and time again, and probably you do too when you're seeing your clients, is that people are busy and racy, have a racy energy. And so that's like all those leaves, shaking in the forest. They can't find the right answer, and feeling rattled and, anxious, I guess, fear, worry, all of those words that we hear. When we're grounded and in the body and come from a place of embodied connection, wisdom, stillness, feeling our way, using our intuition, that's the place that we want to be, which is opposite to a reactive place.
yeah. So what do you use in terms of resources or tools to help people calm their noisy, busy minds and help them get grounded and dig deep into their roots as you described?
Yeah. Well, the most effective way and the simplest way, and as coaches, we like to keep it simple because the world's busy enough, right? Is belly breathing. And it's so overlooked. I mean, you and I learned this when we did Heart Touch together years ago.
Yeah,
And it really landed for me in a deeper way from an embodied perspective, the power that the belly breath has in calming the nervous system.
yeah,
So we're talking about being racy energy or being an embodied energy, coming from a place of balance and stillness. A moving belly breath is one of the most effective ways to calm the nervous system and to sink those roots back down into yourself and connect to the land.
yeah,
So, we hear about that all the time. People say, I'll take a breath. But a lot of the time it's just a chest breath or a shallow breath,
yeah,
which is not having the effect that a belly breath has.
yeah,
So belly breathing means that your belly is expanding and softening and expanding and softening when you're breathing. The belly has to be moving like a balloon.
yeah. It's really nice to hear you describe that, and I think a lot of people have lost touch with that. If if
Mm.
if I could simplify it a little bit, I go back to my childhood memories of when I used to have a belly laugh, or when I used to really cry, and I'd cry so hard that I'd feel my belly moving, and I'd be like, I don't know if you recall any of that crying. I think most adults forget about it, but where they're crying and their belly is having that tremor, that that whole vibration in their gut. And
Mm.
I think the busier we get up here, and the
Mm.
busyness of the noise around us and that distraction, the leaves, so to speak, as you've lovely, the way you've described it,
Yeah.
we tend to disassociate and lose touch with
Yeah.
the connection of our emotions, and we get so distracted by all these other sensory things that are away from our kinesthetic, real gut feel.
Yeah. And, this is already happening to everybody listening, our bodies and everyone that's listening. This is already happening to you and to us.
Mm.
So you either have the choice to become aware of your embodied state, or it's just something that's happening to you and you have no awareness.
Yeah.
So using the breath creates that embodied awareness.
Yeah.
That you'll feel things like, I feel joy, or I feel rattled, or I feel fear, or I'm getting messages from my tummy. So whenever I'm talking to clients about this, they're like, oh yeah, I know that. It's like, yeah, I know that you know that, but are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, if we just come back to the real basics of belly breath, another great one is that we're all intuitively connected to one of the elements. So water, fire, air, earth. There's one of those that resonates with every person. So that's one that I always like to remind people of. So mine is earth. So a simple way to do that is that I go pull some weeds out the garden, or I go and do some veggie gardening, or I go collect the eggs from my chickens, or
Perfect.
in between clients, or in between the regular goings on of everyday life of business and my children and my family, is remembering to connect to the earth. So that's another way too, following along with this analogy of being grounded and connected to my body, to the elements. So for a person that is water, it might be watering your garden, walking along the beach. Or for a person that is fire, is standing and allowing the sunshine to warm your face, and having a cup of tea. So they're just simple things, and they sound really simple. People are like, oh, it can't be that simple.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why not? Are you doing it? Can you go out and connect to your body and to your feelings and connect to the elements? And that's a way for you to connect to yourself and to ground yourself. And
It's
then to
beautiful,
make.
Wendy. Yeah, sorry, I'm jumping in because I'm so excited. I'm saying it's beautiful what you're saying, because it is simple. And, I always refer to Einstein's quote that genius is simple. Genius is basically simplifying complicated things. And the opposite of genius is to complicate simple things. So most people dismiss simple, for one. And the other point is most people are afraid to feel, because they don't want to feel all that anxiety and all that pain and all that grief and all that confusion. But they don't realize that the doorway to feeling joy and happiness is right there as well. Because once you feel all that stuff and let it go and breathe through it, you can then allow yourself to feel the good stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm going to say this again, that it's already happening to us. So it's either that you become aware of it, or it's just happening to you. So let's talk about in fear. And you said, well, to feel joy, you've got to be able to feel fear. So people think, oh, if I just, avoid it and get on with life, then I won't have to feel that. I mean, my life will be better. But the trade-off is that you become numb and that you don't feel anything. And so that embodied invitation is to feel all emotions. So feeling the sadness, feeling the turmoil of what is happening in the world now, feeling the instability, feeling the change that's happening. And this is why connecting to our bodies, connecting to the earth, connecting to the elements supports us to feel and to journey that uncertainty in an embodied way rather than a reactive way, because it's happening to us whether we like it or not. So to be an empowered person in that journey is to hold yourself in all of the emotions that are moving through us.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, and again, it's happening. So you're saying either be aware of it and control it so that you're conscious of it happening, or let the program run unconsciously and you're going to be going through it anyway. So either way, it's happening. It's you make the choice whether you're going to consciously contribute to the happening or you're going to go with the default and let it happen to you. And you're very right. And I guess the other real good point that you made is a lot of people say, I know this. And the key thing is, yes, we all know this. It's instinctive for us to know this. We know this as well as we know that we need to breathe to survive. But how well are you doing it? And how often are you doing it? And are you doing it when times get hard and get tough? Or are you doing it when it suits you? You know, it's got to be done, especially when things are going hard and going tough. I think that's the important time to be applying everything you know.
Yeah. And again, just keep it simple, right? I like to use the phrase micro moments. So just popping those practical things that we know that work in the little micro moments of everyday life. So driving the kids to school if you've got to wait somewhere, or hanging out washing, or waiting for a client, is popping in that micro moment where there's a little bit of space. Instead of being annoyed, it's like, oh, I can use this to do some belly breathing, or use this to feel the sun on my face. And just, you know, weaving it into your everyday life, to be that deeply rooted, wise tree that can weather any storm.
Yeah, beautiful. Is there an easy way for people to identify what is the main element that they work with? Like, for example, you've identified that earth is one for you. Do you know, is it through experimentation? Is it through people going through the process and figuring out whether it's water, fire, earth?
Yeah. Well, most people intuitively know, right? So it's like your happy place.
Yeah.
Where do you already intuitively know that you feel grounded, alive, in flow? You go there when you're sad. It's like your go-to place. And it might just be leaning against a tree, or you go sit on the beach, or you go walk your dog, or you know, you light a fire in your backyard and toast marshmallows, or you'll kind of, I feel, intuitively know when you're connected to your body. So, you know, placing your hands on your body, doing some belly breathing, and just feeling like, you know, where is my happy place? What makes me feel good? Or when I'm sad, where do I go?
Yeah.
What
No,
part
it's
of
good.
nature?
I think Mother Nature covers all the elements anyway. Like if you went for a walk in the bush, or if you went for a walk by the beach, and you can feel earth beneath your feet, you can see the water, and you can be close to that water and the purification of that water, and be getting some of the sunshine at the same time. And you know, you're right.
And I'm kind of bringing this up, right, as a key piece, because, you know, you and I have had a little chat about this idea about how do we move through fear.
Yeah.
What's the step to move through fear? And so fear's up here, right? It's like a racy energy that's disembodied. And so I always like to think, what is the core piece that's going to have the, you know, the most potential to have a ripple positive effect. And so what we need to do, I feel, as people, is rekindle our love for the elements and for the land. Because when we're doing that, we're in our body. And therefore, what we started talking about, you know, that connection, the intuition, the wisdom, the knowing, the right answers that we're always chasing, they live in the body. We already have them. It's not something out there that you've got to go find because you don't have. It's that when you're in your body, then it's like, oh, there's that well of resources that you've been looking for. And so the shortcut to drop in and to find them and to reignite that in your body is connecting to the elements and connecting to the land. And I do fundamentally feel like this is a missing piece in our culture at the moment.
Sure. And of course, you won't think of connecting to the elements and connecting to the land if you don't connect with your breath and connect with your belly breathing, which most people forget that. I mean, if people had to consciously think about breathing, I reckon a lot of people would perish just because they'd forget to breathe. And because of the busyness of life, they really do shallow breathing, sometimes even hold their breath during stressful times. So breathing, although it's such a simple piece of this puzzle, it is so profound. It is so profound.
It is so profound. If everyone just belly breathed, I know it just sounds ridiculous. I feel ridiculous sometimes when I'm saying it to my clients and they're like, really? I just come to you and if I just do that thing, is it going to like make this massive change in my life? I'm like, yes. If you can be disciplined and do it.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 20 years and that's my go-to tool is the belly breath.
Yeah.
And over the years through different modalities, it's really landed deep in my body, the impact that it has on the nervous system. And therefore, in the way that we live life, we can access the things that we want.
Yeah. Well, isn't it? It's our life force. It's an ancient practice, the deep breathing. I call it diaphragmatic breathing. You call it belly breathing. It's the same thing. And the genius is in simplicity and in the discipline to apply it.
Yeah. The other great things that I'll just mention is like simplify your life, declutter your life, practice self-care and kindness. All simple things, but if people, really write those few dot points down, which is grounding, connecting to the elements, belly breathing, simplifying, decluttering, self-care and kindness. Let's just get back to basics. In this busy, crazy world where there's like all this chaotic energy that's creating change. Just getting back to the basics is a good place to start. Be the wise grandmother tree. Be the wise grandfather tree.
Beautiful. And that really comes back to looking inwardly instead of looking for it outwardly. There's people that have a belief system that they have to go find this wise grandmother tree or grandfather tree when they are the tree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's really that aha moment that as coaches we're leading people and inviting people to rediscover within themselves, is that you are the person that you are looking for. And when we're talking about change, or where do we want to end up when we come out the other side of all this, is that those answers are within each individual.
Beautiful. Well, Wendy, I'd love to leave it here because I know I get way excited, but I feel so at peace with this conversation. And there's no point in me trying to add any extra or take us here or there from here. I think it's a beautiful step. Maybe I'll just get you to close with just mentioning those simple steps again.
Yeah. So grounding, sinking the roots down into the earth, using the elements to support you. Belly breathing, just hands on your body and a moving belly breath. Simplifying and decluttering your life. Strip it back to the core things that are important. And practicing radical self-care and being a kind person in the world.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And if you're seeking peace and if you're seeking to be grounded at this time, this is the perfect steps that Wendy's just described. Wendy, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute honor and pleasure. And I wish you a beautiful, blessed Sunday. It's such a sunny day here in Perth. I don't know if it's sunny on your side in Geraldton. It's always sunny in Geraldton.
It's fantastic. I went out and pulled a few weeds and fed them to my chickens. So that's one of my happy places.
Beautiful. Well, enjoy that in the sun and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.